This is Unmuted with my girls, Z and Ross the Boss. Talk about it, ladies.
Hey, besties. Welcome to another episode of Unmuted with your girl Z. And
Ross the boss. Hey,
a
friend.
hey, friend.
Hey, hey.
Long time no talk.
I know, right? I mean, do you love me at all? Is the question.
I mean, considering the fact that I just talked to you like 15 minutes ago, I feel like you're very loved.
I'm just needy, and it's okay.
It's okay.
It's hard being it's hard being strong all the time.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's very difficult. So,
Everybody
so
deserves that attention.
thank you for acknowledging and holding space for me, friend. So, how has how has your week been treating you, Ms. Z?
So it's been a busy week. I think I posted on my Instagram stories a picture of like a Barbie, but she's a hot mess. Like she's like hair all over the place, a little messy. And it says something, I'm gonna butcher this because I'm not looking at it right now, but it was like being a wife, being a mom, being a homemaker, working 40-hour shift, trying to lose weight, trying to eat healthy, and it was like she was exhausted, and I was like, "That it's me in a picture,
Mm-hmm.
exhausted." And then add podcast planning, and then all the other things. Exhaustion is an understatement, but I do want to say, even though I'm tired, I'm very happy. I
Absolutely.
I'm back in the gym. I have been wanting to stay consistent yet, right? So, I haven't been able to stay consistent with it. This is week 2, so we'll see. But I have accountability partners, my daughter, and then now you, friend, because you said you're gonna jump in the bandwagon.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but also let's level set expectations. So
Okay,
we got this bum leg that we're trying to work on. So we're going to focus on core and upper body. That's
that's
it.
okay, and that's
So
okay.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So,
mm-hmm. But
very,
yeah,
very much.
we're in there like swimwear.
We are. We're gonna we have a
Mm-hmm,
plan, and once we execute the plan, maybe we'll bring you in on the plan. But right now, it's just a plan.
mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Let's get the consistency under our belt, and then we can talk about it a little further. Mm-hmm,
Exactly, exactly. We don't want to be those type of people that, oh my God, like it's week 2. I'm gonna be a realist. It's week 2. But
mm-hmm,
but yeah, I'm definitely feeling really positive. I know sometimes it's a little hard, which we're gonna get into based on today's topic. I'm not gonna give anything away, but I'm feeling very optimistic. That would be the word. Even though it has been a busy week, it's been a lot of good. So very optimistic.
absolutely,
All right.
absolutely.
So, I just gotta throw that back out there. How are you? How are you feeling, my friend? How's this week been treating you?
So this week has been very interesting. So you'll see the shirt that I have on right now. It says, I run mountains, America's toughest road race. So I have to share. I am and have been a part of the running race community in Roanoke for several years, and this race in particular is very near and dear to my heart. So it is the toughest race in America, and there are thousands of people who are currently running it today. I have been an ambassador for this race. It's the Blue Ridge Marathon. I've been an ambassador for this race for several years. My nephew is also an ambassador for the program. We actually did it 1 year together. Um, there's actually a commercial with both of us in it. And it just feels I feel a little disconnected from the community because race days are for anybody who is not a part of it. Being a part of a run community is the most beautiful thing. I never thought I would see myself there, and it is the most supportive and most encouraging place to ever be. The people who are, regardless if they finish first or they finish last, just the support of we're all doing the same amount of miles. The goal is just to finish it, right? COVID, this became my outlet, and so I'm super happy for the people who are getting to compete today and who are going up the mountain. A lot of people should be finished around now, so they're getting their medals and hopefully partying a little bit because they conquered the mountain. Um, but just sad for myself that I'm not out there. But understanding that the comeback, baby, it's
Mm.
gonna be tough. So very similar to what you were talking about, getting his body right. So when it's time, she could be snatched when she's ready. Mm-hmm.
That
And
part.
and adding it to my race medal wall and getting back out there with the community. So I am super happy. It's a beautiful day today. So I know that that beautiful view of getting up to the star, and then getting back down and crossing that finish line for those folks, it's amazing. And I just can't wait to get back out there with them. So I am hopeful and encouraged that that day will come, and and then I'll get to get a new I Run Mountains uh, shirt to add to my collection. So yeah.
100%. You're gonna get there. 100%.
Hmm.
Right now, we just focus on getting you
Correct.
ready for that comeback.
There's gonna be a photo shoot, honey. There's gonna be music. So you know how like boxers come out with their squads like
Ooh.
this. So like that's what I want when I'm ready to like cross the finish line. Hey, get it, Ross.
All right.
Hey,
All
and then I was like, she is so much. Yeah, it took a long time for me to get, baby. She back.
right.
She back.
Listen,
So
something that's very
100%.
important that we sometimes are too humble or afraid is to like hype ourselves up. Like that's it's all
Mm-hmm.
about hyping yourself up. Like even when I say it's been week 2, like I know some people might be like, "Oh, well, you're just starting," but listen, it's been very hard to be consistent, okay? So even week 2
Mm-hmm.
going consistently, like I'm going to celebrate that small win and hopefully it's up from there. So yes, you're going to do it big, friend. You're going to come in like with the intro. What song are you going to come into?
I don't even know. I want to let the song choose me. I don't want to choose it. The song is just gonna be like, I'm here, and I'm gonna be like, yes, and that's what we're
Mm.
doing. Darling. That's just it, and that's all. So I miss being a mentor. So for Fleet Feet, I was a mentor for several years also. So I miss encouraging others as I encourage myself. And if you would grant me just a minute to share a story um, of the why behind it, because it's like, oh girl, it's just running. It's not just that. So this race is one that I said I would never do, right? Because if you've never been to Roanoke before, the elevation in Roanoke, we're in a valley, so going up the mountain ranges is hard. It is hard on your body. My car don't like it. So imagine what these legs feel like, baby, when it's time to do it,
Oof.
right? So one of my friends registered to do it and just put out a call on Facebook of like, hey, I registered for this. Will anybody do it with me? And it is hard for me to say no when somebody is like looking for support. So I was like, girl, I'll do it with you. And immediately thought, why did I say that? Because I don't want to. And I have helped out in the past by volunteering, by like, putting out markers and handing out things at races and stuff. But I said I would never do it. But then I registered with that friend. And, I think in a couple other episodes back, I had said, nothing happens by happenstance. It happens for a reason. So, I had, trained a little bit and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. This is going to suck, but I'm going to embrace the suck. Right.
Hmm.
So I go down there with his friend, and there was this squad of women that was there, and like the whole group like huddled up. I didn't know any of the women who was in this circle or whatever, and this is definitely going to tie back to the topics that we're going to cover today. But they were all just sort of speaking life into this one person, and I was like, I don't know, I don't understand what's happening. Again, I don't know anybody. Nobody had given me any context. And this particular person had just had their last round of chemo and was doing this race. And so all of the ladies were saying, we're doing this in your honor. We're going up the mountain in your honor after you just had your last round. And I'm like, perplexed because I was like, what do you mean she just had her last round of chemo and she about to take this trek up this hill, 6.2 miles up? What? And I'm like, okay, cool. All right. Do we have measures in place for the just in case, right? But whatever. So it was a group of maybe like 10, maybe 15 women. And I'm like, okay, so we get into our little section and the horn goes and the people who are gonna run start running and they go. And then there's, the people who are the walkers, they're all going together, and they have their pace. And we get to right when the elevation is about to start, and there was a line of ladies sitting in those fold up chairs along the side. And races normally start super early in the morning, so you see them all and they're kind of bundled up and covered. I just thought they were cold. Okay, so as we're going, everybody's chatting and talking. It's a really lively energy, like it is so exciting, race day, until you start going and then you're just like, again, I signed up for this. What was I doing? So we're going up the hill, and I see all of the ladies that were in the group that I was in start to go over to the side where these ladies were sitting in these chairs. And they stopped to hug every last one of those ladies in those chairs. And I was confused because I'm like, okay, listen, my knees are kneeing and I can't stop. Like I can't stop. I gotta keep going to get the momentum to go up this hill. And so I'm asking my friend, like, what's happening? And she was like, all the ladies who were sitting on the side were in the different stages of their cancer journey.
Oh.
And they would normally be ladies who would be participating in the race, but they couldn't.
Mm.
And it was one of those moments where it tugged at my heart in such a big way. And I'm like, so every lady in that group stopped to hug every last one of those ladies and tell them, like, we're going for you,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And you start to see some of those ladies tear up. And I'm just like, what? So I'm like, friend, like my knees, if you want me to finish, I gotta keep going because my knees, can't sustain me if I stop. So I keep going. And again, your race is your race. Everybody's race is their race. So you go at the pace that you go. So they have switchbacks as you're going up the hill. And that's just where it sort of curves and goes back and forth, up the mountain. And in the moments where it would suck and the mountain got hard, because it's up for like 2 miles, or if you're just going straight up for 2 miles, up and up. And those moments where it got hard and it would just suck, I would hear that group of ladies who was, at this point, maybe a mile and a half behind me, and they would just start singing, I Will Survive. And then I started thinking to myself, like, I don't get to quit because that group of ladies who were sitting at the bottom of the hill, sitting in those chairs, wish they could be out here. I don't get to quit. So I would go. And every moment would get hard, they would start singing again. And at this point, they are like, well behind me, but their voices were so loud and carried, up the mountain. And I remember when I finished, and again, I finished maybe 45 minutes before them. But it was one of those things like I wanted to see them cross the finish line. So as I sat on the side, rubbing my feet, rubbing my ankles, just, proud of myself because I finished, I saw them coming, down the straightaway to cross the finish line. And all of them locked arms in together. And they put the lady who was in who had just finished her last treatment in the middle. And then the rest of the ladies surrounded her and they locked arms together. And as they crossed the finish line, they sang, I Will Survive together and cross that finish line together. Right. So one of the things that was like an aha for me was like, it's not about time. It's not about how fast you did it, but it's the fact that you did and that your body sustained you so that you could. Right. So I remember after they crossed the finish line, I was like all teary and I'm teary now thinking about it. And I told the coordinator, her name's Kate, amazing human, a really good friend. And I told her, I was like, I will forever do this race for as long as my body allows me to. I will forever do this race. And I was so grateful because that very next year I was able to do it with my nephew. And to be able to introduce him to that your body can do anything, your mind can do anything. and you don't shortchange yourself and tell yourself that you can't, right? So it was just one of those things. Like, this race means so much to me because, again, it is in those moments where you were strong until we can't be, right? And in those moments where we can't be, it's okay because somebody loves us enough to pick up that place where we maybe don't have the strength yet. So, when we were talking about this workout thing, and I was like, first thing I said is, "See, I'm gonna go, but I can't do this. But I know that in where I can't, you can. So for what I can do, it's enough that I'm showing up. Because again, I'm giving you strength because you have an accountability buddy. But in the places where I was like, I wish I could work that part of my body, I can't right now, but I know that you can. And it's leaning on each other to say, like, I just don't give up on myself. I just do what I can from where I can, and just leaning on the support of the people who maybe have just a little bit more strength in that place than I do right now. So I think about those ladies a lot. And, I don't know what the outcome was for those ladies, sitting on the side. Keep them lifted in prayer always, because that is a hard journey 100% to go through. But at the same time, to be inspired by that woman that sat in the middle during her last treatment and to say that she is still out here kicking ass and taking names and still doing races
Awesome.
and amazing and dusting folks. Not that's what it's about, but out here she is still, using her body to do the things that her mind tells her that she wants to do is an amazing thing. So I always wear this proudly, and I represent that race well because I again think about those ladies sitting on the side. They just wish they could have. And as long as my body can, I will. So
I love that. That was such a beautiful story. You're starting to change my mind because I'm not a runner. First of all, I can't hang. I look pretty ridiculous running, but based on your story and like so many noble causes out there, like shout out to all the runners out there because I know that has to take a
mhm.
lot of discipline. One day, one day.
Yeah, and don't listen. Don't sleep on the walkers, because there are definitely walkers out here who walk faster than some people run. So that part. So the thing is, it's the same miles regardless of how you get there. And even
True.
for those people who may not be able to run or walk, any movement
That's
that you
right.
can do that feels good to you, 100% do it. So
Yep.
shout out to all of those folks, who find their movement whether it's just I'm able to move in my mind. That is enough.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I
So
agree.
100% celebrating those folks. So yeah, so my heart is full and heavy at the same time, just because this race has always meant the most to me. Again, because of how it started, me telling myself that I would never do it, and I'm like, never tell yourself you're never gonna do so. Never tell
Mm.
yourself you can't do something, because you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. First of all,
Amen.
and 100% is the truth. But at the same time, never giving up on you. You just do it your way, how you can. That's it, and that's all.
I love that.
So,
Thank you for sharing that beautiful story,
mm,
which leans into today's episode and today's topic. Friend, you want to kick us off?
100%, y'all. This one, Z and I have talked a lot about, and the topic today is the cost of being the strong one, right? So we're going to get into some definitions of what the strong one means, what that looks like, what that feels like in your body, how it can be a detriment, and also how it can be a benefit, right? Because
Hmm.
there's, both sides of the coin. So we're going to get into a little bit of conversation around that, understanding that, the beginning story is not the tone of the conversation. It was just one of those things that spurred to mind as we were thinking about um, just the impact of
Right.
always feeling like, you have to be the strong one, and what happens when you can't be.
Right.
So I'm excited to get into this conversation. So Z, I will kick it off to you to give us a little bit of a definition of what being the strong one means.
Thank you, friend. So, by definition, the cost of being the strong one is high functioning anxiety, chronic burnout, emotional numbness, and deep loneliness. it involves suppressing one's own needs to handle everything, leading to a loss of identity and a constant, invisible burden of managing both personal struggles and external expectations. So, if any of that resonates, you can raise your hand or you can say, mm hmm, me too. So, I 100% raise my hand. So, with that being said, we're going to talk a little bit um about being having to be the strong one, and a little bit of getting to know us a little bit more, and why we created this space, and why we are both in therapy. um Woo, you see, like that there,
True.
like what they do, they'll plug it.
True. That's true. True.
So
True.
I think I
Mhm.
want to kick it off with something. I'm gonna be like you. I'm be like, I'm not gonna say my therapist's name because she's gonna be like, really, really, Z, give me more work. But I want to start off by saying it took me a few tries to get to the right therapist, and I tell her this all the time. Like, it was just a vibe. Like, I had tried two other therapists before her. I just wasn't vibing, and it was with her that I really opened up and started like doing the work. So she asked me a question that just really resonated, and I think a lot of you might, it might take you to the root of, when did you start becoming the strong one, or when did the stress start happening? So I, full transparently, I'm in therapy because I am a person that stresses out a lot. I stress about everything, past, present, future. And then I have a horrible habit of biting my nails, overthinking. Like, it's pretty, it gets pretty bad. Like, yes, I'm all light and I love to give back and take care of everybody around me, but then when it comes to me, I put myself last. And then so my therapist asked me, Z, when is the first time that you can think of when you started biting your nails or starting to feel stressed out? And I thought about it for a
That's a good
second.
therapist right there, girl.
Right? I was like, let me think
That's a
about
good
it for a
therapist.
second.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I must have been, as far as I can remember, I must have been a child. I must have been 5, 6, around that age, when I can clearly remember that I was stressed or I was biting my nails about something. And then that's my indicator. You will know once I'm stressing because I'm just like constantly. And um horrible habit, which shout out to my daughter for always having my acrylics, my nails on so that I don't bite my nails. But when I don't have them on, shit gets real. And then so that's when I started thinking about, and then she goes, but why? And I was like, well, my mother was a single mother. And I was like, so she was trying to do her best always. You know, my mom has always been a strong woman. And then so I was always worried about, is she going to be okay? And then because I'm the oldest, are my brothers going to be okay? Because she's working two jobs. I have to look out for my brothers. I have to look out for myself. So I started cooking when I was like 11 or 12 years old. And then so I always had like that mother instinct because I always had somebody to take care of. And then so watching her stress or trying to be strong, I think I mimicked, or a lot of the things that she was kind of were ingrained into the person that I am. So growing up, I've always been really strong. I've always taken care of somebody. And then so it's heavy, right? Because you think about it, and I look at my daughters, and when they were 11 and 12, they didn't have as many responsibilities, but it made me who I am. So it's like, I'm glad of who I am, but also that comes with a lot of unpacking to do. Everybody always sees your smile. Everybody always sees, a lot of people say, oh, Z, you're always so high energy. You always so bubbly. You always have a smile on your face. But when I'm by myself in my head, it's a lot. And it could be very lonely because people just see the smile, the happy, the strength. So I could definitely relate to a lot of that textbook definition of what it means. Right. So I think that's where my connection to this topic is. Just always be having to be the strong one. And then, like, who is there for you when you need it? Right. But with that, we
Mm.
also don't ask for help. And that is another thing that my therapist tells me all the time. Have you asked for help? And I'm just like, but I got it. I got it.
Mhm.
And she's like, but you
Mhm.
don't got it. You have a lot on your plate. And then so I think that a lot of people can relate to that because everybody is living different situations. Like I have friends that because of everything that's going on right now with our current administration or with everything that's going on with our Latinos, our Hispanics, or even non Hispanics, anybody that's an immigrant right now, that puts a lot of weight on the person also that is here legally, that has to think
Mhm.
about what if my spouse, what if my dad, what if my brother, what if whomever is
Mhm.
taken, like, what am I gonna do? And then so that's also you might not see it, you may not relate with me and Shamel on having to be the strong one since the beginning of time, since we were little, but maybe now you're having to deal with
Mhm.
that. And that's also valid. That's also valid. And that's also something that we want to recognize that maybe you didn't start off off that way, but now you are having to be in that situation. And that's okay. Like, we hear you, we're here for you. We know that that's a reality.
Mhm. So, Z, let me just ask that, right? Because um, the other side of that coin, though, right, is there is a benefit to you in being a strong one because somewhere in there it makes you feel good to be the one that people can rely on, right?
Yeah.
So, or else we would be like, I don't want it, right? But there's a piece of you that is fed by fed by people saying, oh, I know I can go to such and such because they will blah. So can you speak a little bit about like, because I'm sure that your therapist, because I like her already. She seems like she's spot
She's
on.
awesome.
But talking about like, how do you identify like this thing that is feeling very heavy to me also feeds me. So I keep walking in the path of being the person that people expect things from. But then I'm also, angry about the fact that I'm the person that people rely on for things.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it definitely gives you some type of boost of energy or purpose. Purpose, even. I probably
Mhm.
would step into
Mhm.
that. I think that I couldn't see myself not being that person, that strong person that everybody can rely on. I think I I watched a lot of strong women in my family. I want to say, for example, there hasn't been a lot of male energy, male role models in my family personally. My great grandmother was a single mother, my grandmother the same, my mother the same, and then I always saw a lot of strength in the women. Like I don't think I ever saw a woman in my family that was not hardworking, trying to provide for their kids, trying to like be better.
Mhm.
And then I think we feed off that energy though, because I think
Yeah.
if I ever thought that I wasn't needed, I think that that would be pretty depressing for me, I think. And I tell my therapist all the time, it's a blessing and a curse because I've been this strong person my entire life. Now I'm seeing generational curses that are being broken. My 21-year-old is 21 with no kids. That we come from a line of teenage single moms. And right now I see her thriving and I'm
Mhm.
like, so everything that I did was worth it for this moment. My 13-year-old is on that path as
Mhm.
well. So I think
Mhm.
that where it's heavy, it's also what gives me purpose. Like being there, being able to show up for people. Cause um I just don't know any other way. Like I just think that some of us were placed in this earth for that. You know how they say God gives some soldiers like bigger. I'm butchering
Mhm.
this. I'm butchering this 100%. But to their strong to the strongest soldiers, I'm just keeping it real. You know, keeping it real. Uh,
True, but keep going. I know. I think everybody
you
knows
know
where you're
what I
going. Keep going. Keep
mean.
going. Yeah, yeah,
um
100%.
about giving the hardest battles to their strongest soldiers, right? I think that is
Mhm.
legitimately a true statement. And then so that is why I'm going to therapy to stay sane for everybody. That depends on me.
Mhm.
um
Mhm.
and then so yeah, I think it feeds my ego a little bit. I think it's when I was a child, not because it was purposefully, my mom had to work. I was a very lonely child. Like my brothers were in their own world. And then sometimes I would talk to myself a lot. I really didn't have many people to talk to. And then when I started seeing that me being a friend, me being a mom, me being a daughter, all these things were for a positive and to make people happy, that made me happy. And that took the loneliness away. So,
Mm.
so to your point, that all the energy that y'all see is because of that, for being the strong one and for being there for people. That's just something that I think that I'll probably die on that hill, that I'm gonna, on my last day, I'll be trying to help somebody.
Mhm. 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 So, um, as you were talking about navigating this journey with your therapist, has she given you any suggestions on what balance looks like?
Yeah, yeah. She definitely has. She, tells me, "Look, your daughters are so I think, let me rewind a little bit. I think because I was a child that had a lot of stress, a lot of responsibilities at a young age. Again, nothing against my mother. She did the best she could, and I think that thanks to that upbringing, I am the person that I am. So I do want to set the stage. But when I had my own kids, I didn't want to give them too many
Mhm.
responsibilities early on. I wanted them to be kids. I was like, I'm in
Mhm.
a better place, I'm in a better
Mhm.
position. Like, I'm able to give them that. And then so I wanted to allow them to have space to be kids. So then, hence how now they're breaking all these generational curses. But my therapist told me, you have to find the balance. Like, yes, you want your kids to live a good life, a better life, have all the things that you didn't want, but you also have to still give them responsibilities. I'm not talking about just having good grades or going to school. She's like, also helping you more, like however that looks like. And now that you have a partner,
Mhm.
because again, if we take it back to episode 1 or 2, I'm sorry, when we got to know a little bit about me, you will know that I was getting raised to become a housewife, a wife, a mother, like know how to cook, clean, take care of the
Mhm.
household. And then so I still carry that with me. I'm very independent, but when I have my man, it's like I'm cooking, I'm serving him, because that's what a woman is supposed to do based on my upbringing. So
Mhm.
then, but what happens then? Then it happens that I have the bigger burden than my partner. And then,
Mhm.
because we're emotional creatures, we hold some type of grudge. Like, how is it that you're chilling and I'm over here like busting my butt, washing
Mhm.
dishes, doing this, doing that? So then my
Mhm.
therapist encouraged me to have open conversations with my daughters, with my boyfriend, about me needing help as well. Yes, I'm still 100% here for all of you, but also I need this from you. So then that's all it took. I think I had a conversation with my family and it was like, well, mom, how are we supposed to know? You always have it all figured out. You have everything scheduled out. You know what you're, how do we know you need help if you don't ask us? And then I was like, fair. So now we have a groove where if I cook, my boyfriend washes dishes, one of the kids is doing the living room, the other one's doing the dining room. So it's leveraging all that heavy load for me, because obviously they can't do my job for
Yeah.
me. Obviously they can't come and do this podcast for me. Obviously they can't go work out for me. So
Mhm.
I still have a lot of things that I have to do. But what about the things that you can get help on? That's where you have to kind of focus a little bit more.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And then just to end that part, she also told me about self-care, which is something that I never would have thought about. What do you mean I get to rest? What do you mean? Because growing up, I remember my mom always worked. To this day, I ask her, I'm like, Mom, you need to take vacation. Like, I want you to relax. You work way too hard. And then it's like, so I'm starting to do that. Like, once a month, I take a day off from work and I focus on doing absolutely nothing. I just watch TV, I'm in
Mm,
bed, what back in the day would be called lazy, I call that I'm relaxing, I'm recharging.
mm,
And then so
mhm.
that or reading a book, I stopped reading for so many years. When I was a little girl, I loved reading and I stopped. And now I'm taking that back up. And I told my family, look, I love y'all, but for the next hour, this is reading time or whatever the case may be. Right. So I think it's really important that when we're being the strong one, we also take some time to recharge. Cause maybe that's what could make the difference with a burnout and a non-burnout.
Yeah, yeah, definitely agree. And the crazy thing is, you know, for those watching, Z and I have not had this conversation about this topic when it comes to each other. So a lot of what you said resonated, and I was like, do we have the same therapist? Because very similarly, for mine, same conversation of you you have you carry a lot of weight because and I don't know that we got too much into it, but my mom passed away in 2006, and when she passed, then it was just kind of like that shared experience that we had of co-parenting, these boys. Now it's just me, you know,
Mm.
who is responsible. I'm the matriarch now, and and now my brothers have kids, and it's sort of like you take the place of mom, and now you're mom,
Mhm.
and you're responsible for all the things, right? And one of the things is, as my mom was transitioning, the conversation that I had with her was, "Mom, it's okay to go because I got it. Mom, it's okay to go because I got it." And I wore that for so many years. So it's 20 years this year that she's been gone, and for at least 15 of that, I wore that as a badge of honor of like I have to sacrifice myself. I have to be the strong one because I promised her that I would make sure that everybody else was okay so that she could go on to whatever the next phase in her journey was. That was an unnecessary burden. And one of the things that my therapist said, because as you were talking about like how you selected your therapist, and for people who don't know, listen, let's pause right here because I'm gonna come back to this. If you want to go talk to somebody, couple things, especially for Black and brown folks, I want you to hear this clear. These people do not get their rocks off from hearing your trauma story. So a lot of times you want to be in your business. They just want to help you through your business, baby. That
Mhm.
they are not going back and having a meet and like, let me tell you about Z in her life. That is not what's happening at all. You are not that thrilling. Okay, first of all.
Right.
The other part is all of the solutions that you have already reside in you. That therapist is not going to tell you something that is outside of you knowing it already. They're just
Mhm.
helping you get there. So you're not going to go to one or two sessions and all of a sudden they're going to tell you how to fix you. That's not how it
Mm-mm.
works because all the answers to your solutions are within you. The other part is a lot of the issues with you are things that you do and
Mm.
that you continue to do. So when we talk about the cost of being strong one of the things that was an aha that my therapist put back on me was, Chanel, who asked you to do that?
Mm.
Huh? She was like, you keep talking about you did this and I did this and I did this and I do this
Mhm.
and I saved all my money for just in case they did this or they need this. And she said, who asked you for that?
Mm.
Well, nobody, but she's like, no, 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 hold right there. Who asked you? But you want to be mad at them or you want to be frustrated, but nobody
Mm.
asked you for you to intervene. So you're being strong and you are, wanting to be frustrated with them. But at the end of the day, they don't know nothing different other than you showing up because you chose to.
Mhm.
I don't think that I paid you for you to
You're like,
attack me in this
I
way.
didn't pay for this.
I want to be refunded. And she will often come back when I get on my high horse of like I and I do and I do. And she was just say, very straight face, stoic face. And she'll say, who asked you?
Dang.
And I sit quietly, right? And then I have to sit back and think about what she said. And then I'll go back to her and I was like, that's exactly why I picked you as my therapist. Because
That
as
part.
I was trying to figure out that therapy journey of like who I knew I needed to talk to somebody because I did not want to be angry anymore. I did not want to be frustrated anymore. I did not want to be anxious anymore. And I was like, I got to put this somewhere because it's eating me. So the other thing I'll share with you all is my mom passed away from a stroke based off stress, based off of stress. 100%. She stressed herself out trying to be everything to everybody. She was number 6 of the kids. She wasn't the first or the last,
Mm.
but you would have thought she was the way she carried everybody. And that killed her. So me sitting back and watching this be a thing, I said, I don't want that to be my story. And the only thing that can change is me. Because all I'm doing is putting my feet now in her shoes. It's enough that I look like her. Do I want to die like her?
That part.
Do I want to die like her? And I said, I don't want to. So then in picking my therapist, I said, okay, now I can finesse most people. So as I was looking through therapists, it's like, hmm. And for those of you who don't know, 100%, most therapists have pictures out there. They'll tell you what their areas of expertise are. And I was like, I want somebody who is comfortable talking to me about my LGBT identity. I knew I wanted a Black woman because I did not want to have to explain that part of myself
Mm.
because there are things that are nuanced to, our lived experiences. I didn't want to have to explain that to nobody. I wanted somebody who would just sort of understand, like, okay, I got it. Because, there's sometimes similarity in how we're raised and that type of thing. So, and then I looked at the pictures. And my therapist, I said, 100%. And I tell her this all the time, you gave me Black mama vibes. Because my mom is now gone. So if anybody's going to chin check me, it's going to be a Black mama. If anybody's going to see through my BS, it's a Black mama. So
Mm.
100%, she is doing exactly what I wanted her to do,
Yep.
was to course correct me, right? Calls out, like, who asked you to do that? So one of the big things about, going through and selecting my therapist was 100%. I wanted somebody who was going to give me Black mama vibes. My mother was no longer living. So that chin check that you normally get from your mama, who is, generally the person who's going to keep it the most real with you. I was like, I don't have that anymore because my mom's not here. So I was like, as I was trying to figure out a therapist, because again, I was just like, I don't want to have the same outcome that my mom did. Like her, a lot of our lives aligned, but I do not want to die like her.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. And I don't owe everybody my life because they didn't give it to me, so they shouldn't take it. And I shouldn't give it up that freely. So for as hard as I am working to make sure that their lives are amazing, I need to make sure that mine is too.
Mm-hmm.
So in finding my therapist, I went through and I said, okay, I want somebody who is okay with me talking about my LGBT identity, somebody who is a Black female, just because, again, I don't want to have to explain that part of myself because, our existence when it comes to culture can be nuanced. So I don't want to feel like, okay, me talking with my hands is something that we got to spend 2 sessions on. Me talking about, like, what would seem like aggressive talk is like, I'm having to explain that part of myself. I didn't want that. So I was like, I want somebody who would feel like my mama chin checking me and reaching me in a place that I can receive it. So I went through and I said, okay, that's what I want. And I went through pictures and I looked at my therapist's picture and I said, that's the one. Because I feel like her general aura was like, I'm gonna get you together.
Mm.
And I said, what I need to be is gotten together. So in selecting her, that was the best decision that I ever made. So as she says these things, I know it's like that pullback moment, but I'm like, baby, this is what you was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody to course correct the bad behavior because
Yeah.
it's not their fault at all that they are leaning on you as the strong one because that is who you presented yourself to be. You
Mm-hmm.
100% were fed off of being, the one that everybody come to, like your chest is puffed up, sort of like what you were saying, Z, of like, oh, I'm that girl. Like I fix everything. Like I have a whole Superman tattoo on this arm. More so for the S. But I realized, and I tell people all the time, that was the best and the worst tattoo I ever got because it was my very first one. And what it says is, I could save the world because I did feel like that.
Mm.
But one of the things I did is I went back and had it adjusted. And again, the universe will always provide. So I remember I took my baby brother to get a tattoo after my mom passed in memory of her. And I was just like, I just want to add something to what you did for me the first time. He was like, what you want? And he put a bunch of flowers and stuff around it. And I was like, I'm a thug. Take the flowers off. I'm not soft. Boom. Right? And he was like, all right, what you want? And I was like, I don't know. Just not flowers. I was like, this is feeling very Hawaii. I want that off.
Hawaii.
So it felt very Hawaii. So he put a chain around it. And at the end, he broke the chain. And I remember looking at it in the mirror at it. And I looked at him and I said, thank you. And he was like, what? And I said, this is symbolic.
Mm.
Because while I am capable of fixing all things, it's not my job to. It's not my job. And what you just did was free me from me. Because my value is not in what I can do for other people. And also, I don't have to do it for everybody. Because again, the thing is, it's like, and the reason I asked you that question earlier, Z, was because it's okay to fix and help for the things that you want to, but it becomes an obligation, and that's what feels heavy, and that's what feels
Yeah.
anxious because it's like, well, is this person not going to want to hang with me because I'm not fixing stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Or if I say no, will I be treated differently? All of those things that we put on ourselves. And if that is the case, that people don't want to be around with you because you can't fix stuff on them, ain't your people.
At all.
They're not your people. Anybody who wants to see you stressed out is crazy. Last year, in one of the teams that I had the pleasure of leading, I remember all of the people who, air quotes, reported to me, had a conversation with me of like, we wish that you loved yourself as much as you love us. We want you to show up for you as much as you show up for us. And that was like an aha moment of like, all of them individually had a separate conversation with me of just like, please take care of you and don't worry about us. You are killing yourself on our behalf. Please don't.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it was just one of those things where it was like, you have to look at yourself and self-reflection, figure it out. One of the things that my therapist says, Z, that like hit me in the head heavy, and I am a habitual overthinker. I think one of the things that was missing from your list is OCD, because that's a control thing. OCD is just, it shows up as, this is the thing I can control, because the thing that really needs to be solved for, I can't do anything about, but I can clean the hell out of this house.
True.
I can check this iron 47 times. I can check, make sure the door is locked. But the thing that's really the issue, I'm not going to address or deal with it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that she gave me as an aha, as we were talking about my OCD and my anxieties and all of those things, was, Shamel, not only do you carry your anxiety and stress, but you also carry the anxiety and stress of every woman who has come before you. And I was like, what's she mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this feels like you about to get into some ancestor talk, right? And she was like, no, think about it. And Z, maybe this will resonate with you a little bit. She said, how is a child fed from their mother before they're born? And I was like, the umbilical cord. She was like, mm-hmm. So what feeds them through the umbilical cord? Like what happens? And I was like, well, like if the mom eats something, it goes through. And she was like, so why would that be different from any emotion or experience that you have?
Mm-hmm.
So you think about it,
That
and I
makes
was like,
sense.
I've never had, physically had kids myself, but she was like, think about it. You eat a spicy food, now your baby's having a response to the spicy food.
True.
You're going to stress the baby out.
Mm-hmm.
So why would that be different for the other things that you are navigating, that 100% that is being passed through the umbilical cord as well? And I just sat back and just looked at her and I said, did she not just give me a word? And she was like, so when
Wow.
it's not dealt with, all you do is pass it to the next generation. So you want, any broken things that your grandmother and your mother did not deal with were passed on each time. The only way that you break it is if you do not procreate, or is if you deal with it, then you break it.
Mm.
And I said, mother of pearl. Well, all right. And she was like, well, it's for you specifically because she was like, I see where your mind's gonna go. Your mind's gonna go and say, well, I didn't have no kids, so I broke it. She said, that's not it either. Because again, you still have impact and influence of the people who still look to you in that same way. So now you have this invisible belly button attached to this other person. You're linked to all of the people who you became responsible for when you told your mom it was okay for her to go. Oh, you
Bam.
charging me extra for this session? What? And so she was like, so how do you break that? So she was like, the thing I'm going to tell you is they're not changing, you are. So what they're used to is for you coming in and saving the day, and they could say hands free. I didn't ask you to do that. You just do it.
Mm-hmm.
So guess what happens when you don't? Then it's like, well, what's wrong with you? You different. You changing. You extra. You and you are because you are doing something different than they're accustomed to you doing. And I was like, bruh, she just gave me a word. And then it became that then became my work to fix it and to change and shift the dynamic of what those relationships were so that I did not resent people that I loved for me doing a thing that I then resented them for.
Mm, that's powerful.
Mm-hmm. And that shit, it hit hard and it does not feel good. And it's a constant thing because the one thing I like to tell people all the time is like, I didn't get this way overnight, baby. It took 45 years. So it's going to take 45 years to course correct all of that, right? Right. But it's a continuous like conversation of like one of the other things that she said to me that has helped with my anxiety. And I was like, high five to your therapist. She has always said, Shamel, your anxiety is not happening about this thing that you're experiencing right now. So track it back. What's
Mm-hmm.
the origin story of where this came from? So when you were talking about biting your nails, very similar to you, I rub a lot. So I will rub a hole through some pants. I scratch. I used to suck my thumb. I pick my belly. But there's all of these things that I do to navigate my anxiety. And she said, so when you feel like that, it feels overwhelming. Track it back to the origin story.
Mm.
Where did that
Yeah.
come from? When did you start doing this? And I'm like, huh. And she was like, the other thing is with anxiety, like all those thoughts that you have, it is just a swirling thought of like, I just need to understand. So she was like, all you're doing when you track it back is to say, I'm swirling right here, but this came from when I was 14 and this happened.
Mm-hmm.
And this feels like that. So now I don't know what to do with it because I didn't resolve it at 14 and now it's showing back up at 45. And I am spinning my wheels to figure out how to avoid dealing with that 14-year-old experience. And now I'm dealing with it at 45. And now I'm just going to clean the hell out of this kitchen.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it is the cost of that is your life. You think about all of these people who have high blood pressure, all of those things. It's not just about your food intake. It's about your
Isn't it
mental
crazy?
intake too.
Isn't it crazy how diabetes, high cholesterol, high blood pressure is hereditary? Like they always say, does your
Mm-hmm.
family have that? Like most of my family, diabetes runs in our family, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. Currently, I don't have any of that. My cholesterol, it's a little, but I'm not there yet, right? And then so it's crazy because your therapist is right. It's like if that's hereditary, then obviously a lot of because I talked to my mom the other day and I was telling her about this episode we're gonna record, and then she's like, "Oh my god." You're right. Like I stress all the time too. I bite my nails all the time too. And so she goes through that as well. And a lot of the stressors that I
Mm-hmm.
have in life are because of the childhood. Like, for example, she was a single mom, so she always had to make sure that she could make it, that there was money in the house. We were a little bit more on the poor side. We always had what we needed, but it wasn't like nothing luxurious. We had what we needed and that was it. I didn't even know what dessert was, snacks, but I had my 3 meals a day. All the things, but
Mm-hmm.
different times. But I remember, I guess I would see her stress about that, about having that money, or even stress about us, her kids, or in the relationship she was in, like that stress of if there were arguments or whatnot. And I think in a way, I carried that. with me, like, okay, what
Yeah.
about me? Now I'm in a relationship. Oh, is this gonna work out? I mean, I love this person, but what about I already been through many other relationships that went downhill. Is this gonna work out? And then my therapist is like,
Hmm.
why are you thinking about that? You just talked about how positive your partner is, how, and the fact of he just blends well with you and your daughters. You love him, he loves you. So why are you already thinking about worst case scenario? And I said, and that's why I'm in therapy.
That's why I'm here, girl.
That's why I'm
Fix
here.
me.
Fix me, please. Um, but no, but it's true because and then she always says, okay, so, okay, that's the relationship aspect. Okay, got it, noted. So then she's like, so of course I was telling her, well, I also worry about this economy. Like it's getting really bad. Am I gonna have, are we gonna be able to provide for my kids, for our house? We have all these plans. And she's like, okay, let me stop you right there. She's like, does every time you stress about this, do you always find a way though? Like, have you ever been homeless? Have you ever not had money to pay rent or bills? Or have you ever not fed your kids? And I was like, no. Like, thankfully, thank God I haven't been in that situation. No. But what if, okay, but you haven't? God always provides and you always find a way. So why are you stressing about it? And I said, well, I don't know. Again, that is why I'm in therapy. Because I'm already thinking worst case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And then but a lot of people wouldn't think that because if you have conversations with me, everybody's always like, Manzi, every time we see you, like, you always radiate so much light and you're always so positive and you're always so bubbly. Well, yeah, that is me. But this other side, in the back of my head, I have all these other stress factors. Or even when I'm having a
Mm-hmm.
presentation or I'm having a meeting, I'm in the meeting in the zone, but then in the back of my head, oh my God, what if I butcher this? What if I mess this up? Like, this is my job or this is whatever. And so that's where she's like, stop thinking worst case scenario. But I feel like, to your point, that's something we've carried from our ancestors. And, we always want to
Mm-hmm.
prepare for the worst, I guess, so that it doesn't feel so bad if it does happen or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's something different too, because like there's another podcast that I listen to called The Read, and Crystal from that podcast will often say words mean things, right? So I think that sometimes we are very free with language, right? So it is when you were just talking about being prepared. There's a difference in being prepared and stressing and not doing anything.
Mm.
So stressing is not getting prepared. It's just worrying about what do you need to do instead of actually doing something. Because if
Mm-hmm.
you actually did the thing, there would be nothing to stress about because you're actively doing something, right? So if I'm prepared about a flood and I'm going to the store and I'm getting stuff, that's not me stressing. That's me getting prepared. But if I'm sitting
Mm-hmm.
home like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? And what is the insurance gonna cover? And what we gonna eat? And I'm not taking any steps necessary to a solution for it, then all I'm doing is sitting home and worrying. But
Mm.
I'm not
Yeah.
taking any steps necessary to get to resolution, with it. And I think that that in the whole, like, uh, it's just being mindful about the things that we ingest, not just food, but the words that we say to ourselves, the places we let our minds go. One of the things I am the worst at, and my therapist gets in my tail all the time. She'll be like, Chanel, when that thought circulate, or the reason that you're anxious is because you allow them to live there. Get them out of there. So write it down. And I'm like, I don't like to journal. And I said, because again, I get anxious that I didn't write it right on a piece of paper. So I started holding a piece of paper. And then I just ruined this notebook. And then I used the right pen and it bled over. And she's like, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. And she's like, you do know that you also have a note option in your phone. And I said,
Mm.
correct. But by the time that I recognized that I could use the note option in my phone, I have gone down a complete wormhole. And it's too late to write. But
Oh,
it
man.
was it was it was one of those things of like, well, you're gonna have to figure out what works for you. One of the things I told her, I was like, we will never talk about me writing anything down or doing those things because I'm not going to. But what I
Oh.
will tell you is that I will lean into my network of folks to say like, hey, I'm not okay, and I just need to talk about it so that I can process it.
Mm-hmm.
So I might not do it the way that you want me to do it, but I'm going to get to it. So leaning in on my circle to say, like you said, it's okay to let them know that you're not always, you're not always like the shoulder that they can stand on. And sometimes that you need to lean, and that's okay.
Yeah. And it's okay to have a down day. Like there's days that I'm more quiet, I'm more down, and my family, my boyfriend and my daughters are like, "Are you okay? This is not you." And I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
"It's nothing that y'all did. I promise. I love y'all." Like it's just that right now I'm just not feeling positive right now. But give me a minute and they're like, "What? But you're the most positive out of all of us." And I'm just like, and I will continue to be that, but just give me a moment. Let me just sit in it, be a little sad about it, and then I'll get out of the funk. And then funny story, the whole journaling situation. I do like to write and all those things. I have a lot of notebooks, a lot of different pen colors, but I was realizing I was only journaling when I was mad. So my journal is full of anger. And then so I was talking to my boyfriend and my kids, and I was like, you know what I've noticed? I only write when I'm mad. When y'all did something to me and I'm pissed and I want to like not be that person. So I go into my journal and they're like, oh, you just in there just talking smack about us, huh? And I said, pretty much. Pretty much. So every time they piss me off, they're like, so are you gonna go to your journal? I'm like, okay, touche,
Mm-hmm.
touche.
Yes,
I
100%.
don't I don't want that. I want my journal to be a little bit of mix of everything, but I guess it's easy when you're in the good moments to forget about all that
Mm-hmm.
other work. But when you're in the trenches, when you're really feeling it, you're like, oh yeah, let me write it down. Oh yeah. And I want, hopefully, what I was telling my therapist, I want it to be a good mix of the good, the bad, and everything, not just the bad, because then it's kind of sad to go back and read a journal full of anger.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, but to your point, whatever works for you.
So 100%. And one thing I'll say too, Z, that one of my really good friends, Nicole, she amazing Bolivian. I remember when we're talking about like being okay with not being a strong one is first of all figuring out who you feel okay being vulnerable with.
Mhm.
And I remember one time I got an exercise from my therapist where she told me you have a lot of things that you feel that just are sort of resonating within you that like you're never going to be able to have a conversation with your mom again in the traditional sense of like the way that you would have a conversation with her. So what are you going to do with those feelings?
Mhm.
Right. So he charged me with, have you thought about writing a letter of how you feel? And I was like, huh. Okay, but what am I doing with the letter after I write it? And she was like, what would you want to do with the letter? I was like, I don't know, because it's like I'm not going to send it to her, right? And she was just like, hmm. I said, yes, I could burn it. She was like, mm-hmm. So I just had a lot of feelings and a lot of emotions because like going to my therapist is like when you have dandruff on your scalp, right? The only way to get the dandruff out is to comb it up and then wash your hair, right? So you go to therapy, you comb up all of these issues. Now you can let the dandruff sit on your scalp, like sit in your hair, or you can wash this shit out.
Mhm.
So I was remembering like we talked about all of these things. And I got all this dandruff sitting in my hair. What am I going to do with it? And I was just sitting there overthinking, as one does. And I called my friend Nicole and I said, hey, I need help. And she was like, okay. I said, you still got that girl at your house? And she said, yep. And she's like, what's up, friend? And I said, I just got some things I need to process. And I
Mm.
said, I need to let these things go. And she said, okay. So she was like, come over, friend. I'll pull out the tequila. And I was like, fantastic. And I went by the water because as a cancer, water is a safe space for me. And I wrote out everything I felt. And I took a bunch of letters, a bunch of paper, and a bunch of envelopes. And I wrote out everything I felt and I addressed it to the people that I needed to have those conversations with. Some of those people were still alive, but also like if I did share it with them, where was it going to go? Because it was stuff within me that I needed to get out, and not necessarily stuff they needed to hear. Right. So I
Mhm.
wrote it out. I seal the envelope, and I go to Nicole's house, and I go there with a stack of these letters. And she said, All right, friend, what we doing? So she had the grill out, she had a lighter, she had some shot glasses, some tequila, was about to go. And I said, oh,
Ooh,
and she lit the grill and she was like, I'm here to support you, however. And as I took these letters, and I don't even remember what I wrote in them because that was just how I felt in the moment. And I stuck them in the grill and I said goodbye to those feelings because there was no reason for me to go back and read it because that's how I felt in the moment. There was no reason for me to keep it around because I didn't want to hold it in me anymore. So we just went through, and every time I burned another letter, we took another shot of tequila, and she just said goodbye to those feelings. Not goodbye to the person, but goodbye to the feeling.
love that.
Because again, a lot of the feelings that I had around those people were things that I put on myself and had nothing to do with them. So it was one of those great moments. So she, and that was, several years ago. And then she was like, hey, friend, you remember when we did that thing? And I said, just thank you for being there for me. And she was like, if I ever need to, I know I can call you and you would just understand. And I was like, I agree. And that's why I called you because I knew that I didn't have to give you a bunch of explanation. You were just there to hold space for me. And then that made it easier for me to then be able to speak up to my other friends to say, like, sometimes I'm not okay. And sometimes I just need y'all to hold space for me. Sometimes I'm not strong. And then you have those people like, no, you always. And I'm like, I don't. I put on the mask, but I don't feel like that a lot. And they're like, oh,
100%.
and I just cover well, and then I go home and I suffer alone.
Yeah.
So very similar to what you were saying. Like a lot of people, automatically assume that people with our personality types are super extroverted. I was like, I am so introverted, you don't even know.
Yeah, I'm
I
actually.
dialed it up.
I was like, I'm
I
actually
dialed it up.
extroverted,
Mm-hmm.
but
For
when
me,
I was younger, I was the
introverted.
opposite.
Yep. And you find it, right? So it's like I can get there, but at the end of the day, like then my social battery is burnt, and I'm like, okay, I'm just at my house. And people are like, you ain't did nothing. I just been in the house. I haven't talked.
Mm,
I haven't said nothing all weekend. What? Yeah. I did that for y'all, not for me.
right, right.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I agree.
So, mm-hmm.
So, again, if you're hearing this and any of this resonates with you, you are not alone. I know it can be lonely sometimes, a lot of times, but whether it's therapy, whether it's working out, whether it's writing in the journal, or a shots and letter burning party, I think that's gonna become a thing. Whatever makes you
Not
feel
arson,
good.
not arson,
Not
not
arson.
arson.
No, just I'm talking about like in a grill, like something small, like a fire pit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you have a fireplace because you're rich, go crazy.
I have a
I mean, no,
fireplace, but
don't go
I'm not
crazy.
rich. I just want to disclaim that I have a fireplace, but I'm not rich.
No, I said if you have fireplace, you're rich. Fire pit, you're regular like the rest of us. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what I was trying to clarify. For those of you that know that I have a fireplace, I am not rich. Not yet.
She is lying. If she is lying. If she has a fireplace, she is rich.
So again, we're not therapists. We go to therapy. There's a difference. But we just wanted to share that with whoever needs it at the time. And of course, if you have any other ideas, we're definitely gonna start a post in our social media for anybody to throw ideas out there. I know we threw some, but there's so many more out there that can help for you to take off a little bit of that weight that we all carry on our shoulders, or with the cost of being the strong one. So,
Absolutely. And also, I think to add in there, Tuesday, for
sure.
anybody who is a mental health professional or anybody who has access to mental health resources that may be on a sliding scale, or like, hey, if you have a dope therapist or whatever, let's share with each other. It does nobody good if we just keep all of our resources to ourselves. So where there's an opportunity for us to connect or link someone to somebody who can help you process, like, however you're navigating the world, please explain it on each other and have conversations in the chat or even, private messaging each other. And we also have unapologetically unmuted email. So
Yes, we
unapologetically
do.
unmuted at gmail.com. So If any of what we said resonates with you and you want to connect privately, please definitely use that, or use the messaging options within any of the platforms that we've shared, that you can connect with us, and we will definitely reach out to you. But we are in this together, and you're not wrong for wanting to do right by people. Just don't do right by you too.
Yeah. We're like phone, right? Like a phone, any device that we have needs to be charged. The same with us. We need to be charged. So whether that's a day off, like Ross the boss said, take a day off and don't talk to nobody, just sit by yourself, or whether you want to be a couch potato and watch TV shows and not even think, shut off your brain, whatever it takes to get you recharged. And then that could look differently to everybody. I mean, I wish I was in a beach out there by myself with some margaritas, recharging that way. But at the moment, the couch will do.
Listen,
So
I'm on the couch at the beach. Hey.
first of all, you don't have to be a job at the moment.
But I mean, that's real though, Z, right? So
Yeah.
like, the whole reason I'm here is because I needed a mental health break. And I just happen to be blessed with some amazing friends who have opened up their home to me to say, anytime you need to get away and just reconnect with yourself, you're available to it. So, and then last year was the first year I took them up on it. And I have promised myself that I will do that as I need to. So 100%, for as much as you give to others, also make sure that you do that for yourself.
Amen. Amen. And so we've talked a lot. We could keep going because obviously, right, there's so much to talk about this topic. And who knows, we might have a part 2 somewhere down the line. But we do want to end today's episode with some words of affirmation from our very own Ross the Boss. She didn't write it, but she did pick it out. You know what I mean? Ross the Boss, take it away.
Yes. Give me just 1 second to pull my note up on my handy dandy electronic gadget right here. So this quote is from the great Audre Lorde, and it says, "Your silence will not protect you. Good thing I was never built to be quiet. I am the messenger and the movement. I don't ask for space. I take it, I shape it, and I own it. Remember that you are birthed by queens and built under the light of a star. Unmuted on purpose, unmuted in power, unmuted in advocacy, and unmuted in truth. So 100% understand that quiet and not speaking your needs and advocating for yourself is 100% you muting yourself. And you matter just as much as everybody else. So find your peace, find your passion, and 100% find your people.
Amen.
And other people that encourage you to stay 100%
unmuted. Don't forget, like, follow, share, subscribe, comment, do all the things. Our socials are up on the top. But if you're not following us, I don't know what you're doing. So you need to get on that train. 100%. But with that being said,
by not following us.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you should. Exactly. So all we gotta say is, if you're out there feeling alone right now, we see you, we love you, and we're sending you all the positive thoughts. You're not alone. We've all been there, done that. So just remember that you are loved, and we're sending all of the love virtually to you. Bye.
Bye, loves.
Don't forget to like, share, follow, and subscribe. And always staying unmuted.